Alright, so October is over and we basically skipped Thanksgiving, so let's talk about Christmas. So you notice I got on my hat. It's actually my mom's hat. Today we are talking about a place that is well known as far as Christmas and Christmas decorations. They have the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, and that is New York. Yes, the one, the only. So we're going to be talking about some haunted places in New York. So first off, let's talk about the history of New York. So New York as a state was first inhabited by the Lenape peoples, which were a First Nations tribe, nation. Europeans began to explore the area at the beginning of the 16th century, the first being Giovanni de Verrazzano, who was actually searching for a route to Asia, as everybody was trying to do back then. The Dutch would settle in the area in 1624. So this is why, there are a lot of names in New York that you'll see. They're actually Dutch in origin. So 30 families of Dutch origin were sent to live and work in the area on what is now Governor's Island. So then it was called Newton Island, or that's how it's pronounced. It looks like Nutton, but it's really Newton Island. The settlement would later move to Manhattan Island, and it would later be taken over by the British. So New York City, as you very well know, consists of 5 boroughs. So that's Staten Island, Brooklyn, Queens, Manhattan, and the Bronx. I don't know if I can say BX all day, because I'm definitely from Atlanta. You can tell by my accent, so I'm not going to do that. So I'm turning the page, because I got a script like a grown person. So now that we know the history of NYC, we can get into the ghost. So the first place we're going to talk about is the Conference House. This home is located in Staten Island, or on Staten Island. It's on Staten Island. And it was built by Loyalist Colonel Christopher Billop in 1680. Now, originally, the home served as a wheat farm. In addition to this being his home, so in addition to being a wheat farm, he would use this as what they called a way station for British forces during the Revolutionary War. The home would even serve as the site of the 1776 Peace Conference, which attempted to end the Revolutionary War. So they actually did try to end it, which I didn't know that, honestly. Or maybe I did, but so much history. This apparently did not work, or obviously it did not work. So now Colonel Billop, as you should probably know, and actually surprisingly, was a staunch loyalist. So he was very loyal to the crown. And this led to the ghost in his home. So this leads to the story, or the lore that goes with this home. So Billop is suspected of murdering a servant girl in 1779. He apparently threw her down a flight of stairs after he found out she was spying for the other side. So I guess I would say the Patriots. Her ghost can still be heard screaming as though she is being murdered again. This area was also used as Lenape burial ground, so that may be part of it too. And it was burial ground for thousands of years. Some of their spirits might still be roaming around as well. I think there's actually a lot of that going on in New York. I don't want to say surprisingly, but it's just because you always hear about that in the South, but you never really think about it up north for real. It's weird. I can understand Virginia, with I forgot what the tribe that was there when Jamestown was established. But you think about Virginia, but you don't think about New York. So I just thought that was interesting. They're going to move north to the island of Manhattan and into Harlem. So Harlem is actually a Dutch name, and I'll put what the meaning of it is. Harlem is home to City College, which is this absolutely gorgeous campus. My cousin used to live in Harlem, and she was like, oh, I gotta take you to City College. And we were too busy eating our way through New York, so we didn't. We didn't even do that. Plus, I wanted to nerd out at the Harry Potter store. But located on this campus is the Harlem Gatehouse. So the gatehouse was a water pumping station for the Croton water supply system. And there's actually no story related to why it's haunted, but people just find it creepy. And I even found some footage of people doing like sessions there, like trying to see what's there using, trying to get EVPs and stuff like that. But no one knows why it's creepy. They just say they get odd feelings around it. And it's almost as though it has an energy of some sort, or it's ominous. So while there may not be a connected ghost story there, something must have went down in that area, and it's just still, showing itself. St. Mark's Church in the Bowery. So before we get into the ghosts here, just want to let you know because I was curious. I'm like, what does the Bowery mean? So if you notice, like I said, New York City has a lot of interesting names associated with it, usually of Dutch origin. So Bowery is one of them. Bowery is an anglicization of the Dutch word, I think it was pronounced Boerie or Bowery, derived from a Dutch word meaning farm. But people have worshipped here at St. Mark's since the 1660s, so it's been there a while. And I thought I had a picture of this church that I took, but it wasn't. There wasn't St. Mark's. The ghosts that center around there are people who are buried on the property. So notable people that are buried there are John C. Colt, as in the Colt revolver, so of Colt revolver fame. Alexander Turney Stewart and Peter Stuyvesant, the last Dutch New Netherlands / New York governor. Alexander Turney Stewart has an excellent reason to haunt the place. So after he was buried, his body was put up for ransom. And I probably should have looked into why that was, but it's none of our business. That's what it feels like. It's none of our business. We don't need to know. So footsteps, ghostly footsteps specifically, can be heard. Most notably the steps of Peter Stuyvesant, who had a wooden peg leg in life. So imagine that, like, you're in the church at night by yourself, or in the church by yourself, period, and you hear this wooden peg leg, and that's a very specific sound that you're hearing, and that's creepy. So people often hear this man walking around. So the last Dutch governor of New York walking around. People have seen strange shadows moving past the church windows when no one is in the church as well. The bell at St. Mark's is said to ring at random or odd times. I also heard that sometimes, this is a while back, I think when I was in New York, I looked this up. And they said you can hear it, like somebody's singing loudly in Dutch because they don't want to hear, like, I guess, English hymns. Very petty. These ghosts are petty. And I think that was actually Peter Stuyvesant who was doing that. It's almost like they're giving us a warning when that bell rings, saying like, hey, you're about to see something you don't want to see, so you might want to get out. But people have witnessed this, just like walking by the church. They hear the bell and they're like, we're not in service. It's not even Sunday. Weird. The next place, though, is a famous story, and it's part of the reason I was inspired to do this video, in addition to St. Mark's Church. So in the neighborhood known as NoHo, so north of Houston Street, that's what that means, and Soho, just so you know, means south of Houston Street, is the Merchant's House. So this was the home of Seabury Treadwell and his family. So Seabury Treadwell was a successful hardware businessman, and he would retire in 1832 and move into what is now the Merchant's House. Seabury and his wife Eliza would have 8 children. The youngest of those children is the subject of this ghost story, and her name was Gertrude, so Gertrude Treadwell. and she was born in 1840. And it's said that she never left, among others, but we definitely know about Gertrude. So the story goes that Gertrude fell in love with, they just said someone that wasn't on level with her, but it was a Catholic doctor by the name of Dr. Lewis Walton. So the Treadwells were extremely Protestant. They came to America, before it was America, just like straight up Protestant. Like they said, they go way back. However, her father and family, like I said, being staunchly Protestant, rejected this romance. And so Gertrude, heartbroken, decided she would never marry anyone. So she would stay in the house until her death in 1933 at the age of 93. So she actually lived a very long life, but they said it was a very lonely life. And unfortunately, Gertrude never left the home, or not never, rarely left the home. So she was there until she died. They made her sound so lonely. I'm sure she was lonely, but like they just put this girl up as a straight up tragic figure. And it does suck, of course, what happened. She is normally seen wearing a brown taffeta dress, moving about the house. People have heard piano music wafting from the house, and they're like, who is playing the piano this time of night? And it sounds very good, but like, who is playing the piano? And they realize that's a museum, no one lives there. The creepy thing about that is the piano is broken. And again, no one is in the house. So it's thought to be Gertrude, because people have said that people that work there have said they often come in and they'll see teacups just out, like especially in areas like the parlor or the kitchen, and they're like, oh, Gertrude was up. It's as though someone finished a cup of tea. Interiors of the house also feel a cool breeze in the room that Gertrude spent her last days in. Now, some people were like, it's just a draft, but when you take into account that this is where someone died, we're going to go is in Soho. And this is the Ear Inn. And I told my cousin to check this place out. It looks like a cool place. I don't know if it's her vibe, because she's very like posh. She's very upscale, so I don't know that this will be her spot, but whatever. So New York City is a huge city. I don't know if you know, but New York is ginormous. And with a big city comes bars of every kind, and New York does not disappoint. There's also a place that, side note, sells risque cookies, shall we say. I've seen some things while in New York. So anyways, this bar did not start out as a bar. It is situated in the historic home of James Brown, not to be confused with Augusta native James Brown, the singer. James Brown was an African aide to George Washington during the Revolutionary War, and at the time, the home sat very close to the Hudson River. So this one article I read said it was like within 5 feet of the Hudson River, so very close. This made it a great place for a bar, especially for seafaring men, and that's pretty much what happened. So that's how it gets life as a bar. Not especially, but after James Brown's passing, that's when it comes as a bar. So the river would actually be filled in, and new piers would be built to further New York's ability to become one of the biggest ports in the world. And it was after James Brown, like I said, passed away, that it officially becomes a bar. So the ghosts in the bar are not actually, they didn't say anything about James Brown, but they did say that his former patrons. The most notable spirit is that of Mickey. So the story goes that Mickey was a sailor who tragically died outside the bar. So he was actually hit by a car after, having a couple of drinks, or having a drink, or a couple of drinks. I was gonna say having a drink or two. That's still a couple of drinks. He's said to flirt with the ladies. He loves his ladies. So he's still there, just trolling, just trying to. Yeah, he's still there, trying to get them girls. And now we go on to a restaurant that I saw it on the Travel Channel, and I was like, I have to go there. Not because it's haunted, but I looked at the menu, and you'll need a couple of dozen credit cards, but it is good. It looks like the food is amazing. And if you've been there, leave a comment. Like, let me know if you've been to 1 if by land, 2 if by sea. So this restaurant is located in the West Village, and this was once Aaron Burr's carriage house. And if you watch Hamilton, you know who Aaron Burr is. And he's played by Leslie Odom Jr., who is... Can I call him a dish? I mean, it's fine. Anyways, so Burr and his daughter, Theodosia, are said to be just 2 of the spirits in the house. See, I thought it was just them 2, but no, there's another one. But first, the Burrs. So Aaron Burr, as you know, was Vice President of the United States, and he is also the man who squared up with Alexander Hamilton in a duel. And, I mean, can you say he won? I guess the object. Yeah, he won. Because the object of a duel is to kill the opponent. So he won. And FYI, these 2 were part of the defense team for murderer Levi Weeks, and we'll get to that jackass in a minute. So his daughter Theodosia, Burr's daughter, not Levi Weeks, was wife to the governor of South Carolina, and she would be lost in a shipwreck involving pirates. When I read that, and I've read this before, but like for the video, I was like refreshing my knowledge, and I was like, pirates? Damn. And the sad thing is, she was on her way to see her dad, because her dad didn't want to see her. He had lost his grandson, I believe it was to smallpox, and so he was lonely, and he wanted someone there with him. And so she decided to go up to New York. So now these 2 are quite busy in their former home. They break champagne glasses and knock paintings off walls. Theodosia is an earring thief as well. I guess she liked earrings. I mean, I get it, girl. I like earrings. I'm 30. So Theodosia can also be seen. So when she's not jaying earrings, she's seen on the staircase in the restaurant, and she apparently like I said. So there's also a lady in black, and she's said to have fallen down the stairs and broken her neck, but no one knows who she is. I don't know. It's just out the blue, because you have Aaron Burr, you have Theodosia Burr, and then you have this woman in black. Strange, but that's who they say is there. So if you can brave the hauntings, and the fact that some unseen hand might take your earrings, I hear it's a pretty good restaurant to go to. Now we go on to the Octagon and Roosevelt Island. And the Octagon, when I first saw that, well, okay, first let me go back. So I watch, what's her name? She's a Delta. She's part of my mom's sorority. Oh God, what's her name? She's on MSNBC, and she was talking to Jesus and Mero when they had their show on Vice, and she was talking about the Octagon. What I now know is the Octagon, and I was like, what? Joy Reid, that's her name. She was talking about the fact that it's haunted because it was a mental institution, and when I was researching this the other day, it clicked, and I was like, that's what she was talking about. So that's what we're talking about. Situated in the middle of the East River is Roosevelt Island. A little bit of history about the island. It was purchased in 1637 by Dutch governor Wouter van Twiller from the local tribe. So the island would change hands during the 18th century from Dutch to British ownership. As you know, New York changed hands, so of course the island's going to change hands. So the Blackwell Pen was the earliest structure on Roosevelt Island, built in 1832. In its heyday, it housed nearly 1,000 inmates who were a part of, I put in quotes, labor program, because, I mean, you know what that means. Someone's getting free labor and several inmates are dying. Someone's rights are being jaded. So this stayed a labor program. During the mid-19th century, it would become the original home of the New York City Lunatic Asylum. So this is what Joy Reid was talking about, from 1841 to 1894. Along with the asylum was a smallpox hospital, a lighthouse that was allegedly built by an inmate, like it was his project, and he left a really creepy sounding like plaque or commemorative plaque after he was finished. I'll put it up if I can find it. And the Blackwell Pen, so the earliest structure built there. But what we are going to focus on is the New York City Lunatic Asylum. So first off, for you Batman fans, y'all, first of all, and anybody, you know that Gotham is New York, and New York is Gotham. I think the nickname for New York, other than the Big Apple, actually, I think the Big Apple is the state nickname because apples is their thing. Looking at is the inspiration for Arkham Asylum. So, think about that. Like, think about the characters that you saw in Batman, which is also considered a Christmas movie, at least the one with, what's his face. Think about this. Like, think about those villains that are in Arkham, and then think about what is in this asylum. And it's like times 1,000 because this is 1800. So, like, well, I don't know, because they put you in asylum for, like, having periods. It's crazy. So, Arkham Asylum. Good Lord. So, the New York City Lunatic Asylum is the subject of journalist Nellie Bly's expose, 10 Days in a Madhouse. And I'll put a picture of Nellie Bly up so you know who she is. There's actually a movie about her on Hulu, or it's like a series. I would encourage you to check it out. Or if it's janky, read a book about her. And this expose would uncover the mistreatment of its patients. With that said, the asylum is now an upscale apartment building called the Octagon. So several residents report their pets barking at nothing, staring at nothing, or flat out refusing to go in certain areas of the building. Residents also claim to hear sounds relating back to the madhouse. So screams, cries, probably the sound of, gurneys. It's terrible. And you paying. I didn't even look at how much. So this is editing me, and I looked up how much the rent is for the Octagon. It's between $3,000 to $6,000. Imagine paying for somewhere and it's like hella haunted. I couldn't do it. The rent is, because I know it's astronomical. It's New York. The asylum isn't the only place haunted on Roosevelt Island. So the smallpox hospital on or it's called Renwick Hospital, is said to have heard strange noises and lights from the abandoned building. So people that walk around, because it's actually like a pretty nice like walking area, they can hear these sounds from the hospital, from the smallpox hospital. The ghosts of the Blackwell Pen are said to roam the island as well. Residents report hearing sounds such as though inmates are still working. So they hear like the pickaxes and God knows what else, probably a couple dozen screams. I imagine it was very much like the Atlanta Brickyard. Check out my TikTok for that one. I actually might do a video on that later on to do some more research, because it's terrifying. It's very creepy, and it's real. That's what's even scarier. Not to say this isn't real, but like it's really happened. To 85 West 3rd Street. So there's nothing but a banister left related to this spirit, but he still hangs around, and it is the man, the myth, the legend, Edgar Allan Poe. So Poe was all up and down the East Coast, first of all. I mean, that man was so many places. Hell, I didn't even know he went to West Point, and I call myself a Poe fan. And I didn't know that about him. Anyways, so while he was in New York City, he wrote Part of the Raven, which is a hell of a, love it, and The Cask of Amontillado. So locals have said they have seen the Master of Horror in and around the area, just chilling, just walking around, doing his thing. And we're going to go to Washington State Park. So this is also located in Greenwich, which is where the last location we just talked about is. Greenwich Village neighborhood. So this 9.75 acre park is burial ground. In fact, 20,000 bodies are buried underneath the park. So excavations found tombstones under the park going as far back as 1799. Not only was it burial ground, it was also a First Nation settlement. So remember the Lenape Indians, Native Americans, they were occupying this area. And the area near it, rather, and that settlement was called Sapacanacan, which translates to tobacco field. So they might be roaming around as well. And people have come across cold spots, apparitions, and the list goes on. So just think about that if you're ever... I mean, I'm sure New Yorkers know, but those regular people. Think about that when you go up. This is the ghost of Elma Sands. And this is another famous New York legend. Because it's crazy, to say the very, very least. So this story occurred 5 days before Christmas, way back in 1799. So Elma Sands was a young woman from the Connecticut Valley, and she would move into a home on Greenwich Street owned by her cousin and her cousin's husband. So on Sunday, December 22nd of that year, Elma would mysteriously disappear. And witnesses said that they heard her up in her room getting ready. So witnesses say they heard her in her room getting ready to go out. And, where was she going? Of course, the authorities asked when she disappeared. And they said to elope with her fiance, Levi Weeks. So Levi was a fellow boarder at the home. He was 24 years old and a carpenter by trade who had moved to New York City to live with his brother Ezra. He was actually born in Massachusetts and moved to New York with his brother. So in the weeks and days following Elma's disappearance, people would go searching for Elma because it was, it's cold, it's winter. They're concerned about this young woman. Their search would take them to the Hudson River, and armed with the fact that she had borrowed a muff due to the winter cold. So 2 days later, the borrowed muff will be found near fresh horse tracks and the newly commissioned Manhattan Well in Lispenard Meadows. So at this point, Elma had been missing for 10 days. So January 2nd, 1800 to be exact. Her body will be discovered, unfortunately, at the bottom of the Manhattan Well, and her body was said to have been bruised and her dress torn. So no one knew at that point if she jumped, fell, or she had been pushed. At least not at first, because I think that the public was like, totally freaking did it. He did it. He murdered that girl. Unbelievable. So nonetheless, Levi Weeks will be arrested for his part in the murder. And on January 6th, a grand jury concluded that Sands had been murdered and Levi was the one who did it, and so he was charged. Levi was put on trial and defended by Aaron Burr and Alexander Hamilton. Because they were so good at, from what I remember from the Travel Channel special and other things I read, from besmirching that poor girl's name, he was acquitted. And of course, public opinion did not acquit Levi Weeks. So he moved away. He got the flip on. He left New York and he did not come back. So where's the well now? You're not going to believe this. It's still there, so it's still with us. But it is in the basement, or in the, I can't tell, that's got to be the basement. So it's in the basement of the COS clothing store in Soho, at the corner of Green and Spring Streets. So people report seeing the ghost of Elma. Other people have heard her screaming. The screams are described as though she is pleading for her life. Even creepier, these screams are heard in the vicinity of Green and Spring Street. So not even like just in, it's not contained in the building. It's like around the building, around the area. In the store COS itself, employees have witnessed shortages and electric outages that can't be explained. This is not attributed to Elma, however. It's attributed to her cousin, who put a curse on the room as soon as she found out that, you know, her cousin was, you know, her murderer went free. And it's believed the curse did its job. So, Hamilton fans, you know what went down with Aaron Burr and Alexander Hamilton. But the judge, see, y'all know about the judge. The judge presiding over the case, they say he disappeared, much like Elma Sands did. But where they found Elma Sands' body, they never found his body. So he was presumed dead. In addition to this, and I believe this is just my opinion, Aaron Burr, remember, he lost his daughter, his beloved daughter, Theodosia. And I think that was part of the curse as well, if the times align. So I would think her cousin got her wish. So in conclusion, I wrote this like a paper. It was so lame. In conclusion, New York is a very cool city, and I would love to go back. Oh, but I won't talk because I spoke at a mall, and this guy was like, "You are from the country," and I was like, but yeah, it's a wonderful city. They've got the history that apparently continues to show itself, and they have chopped cheeses, which is a sandwich that will blow your mind. My favorite meal is a chopped cheese with bacon and onions with it's this Schweppes orange seltzer water, because I like seltzer water. That's my ideal meal. My ideal New York meal. With fries. If I can get fries, it's perfect. But yeah, stay tuned for the next Paint It Haint. 25 days of terror.